Welcome back to part 2 of my 3 days in Prague series. In part 1, I presented a cinematic journey through Prague without any commentary. However, for part 2, I felt it needed a bit more explanation of the journey and the parts of Prague I visited. So here we are. And if you haven't already, please go and check out part 1 first. We started day 2 by heading to the funicular railway station, which would take us up to Petrin Tower. We were hoping for some incredible views of Prague, but the skyline looked bleak on the way up due to the fog. Petrin Tower, standing at an impressive 208 feet tall, was built in 1891 and bears a striking resemblance to the Eiffel Tower. Originally an observation and transmission tower, it's now a popular tourist attraction, which cost us only 290 Czech crowns to enter. While I'm not particularly afraid of heights, ascending the tower made me feel a bit uneasy. Maybe it was the added stress of holding my camera and the intrusive thoughts of accidentally dropping it. Despite my nerves and the foggy conditions, the views from the top were still pretty incredible. The next stop was Prague Castle, which was only a short walk from Petrin Tower, but took a little longer with a few photography stops on the way. Once inside the castle grounds, I mostly focused on picking out details in the architecture of this massive structure, rather than looking for wider shots, as the sheer scale of the castle can be kind of overwhelming when trying to find compositions. This is actually the largest ancient castle in the world, and you can really feel that when you're inside. The grounds of the castle also provide some incredible views of Prague, which was now much more visible with most of the fog having cleared. So after our quick visit to see Sparta Prague Stadium, we had a little bit of time left before our plans for the evening. I guess I felt at this point I hadn't taken quite enough shots of Prague's trams, which I'm more than made up for here. To be fair though, they are probably the most photogenic trams out of all the cities I've visited. For the evening, we had planned to attend an ice hockey game where HC Sparta Prague were playing against Liberec White Tigers. If you visit Prague, I'd highly recommend catching an ice hockey game. The atmosphere was electric, and the tickets were quite affordable at around €8 for seats very close to the rink. Unfortunately, I didn't bring my camera into the arena due to size restrictions, but that didn't dampen the experience. The final score was 4-1 in favour of Sparta Prague. However, I have to give a lot of credit to the away fans, whose section was right next to us. They kept the energy high and made the atmosphere incredible throughout the game. After the hockey game, we made a quick stop at a bar we'd been really excited to visit, the Nightmare Horror Bar. If you're a fan of horror movies like us, this place is a must-see. They've absolutely nailed the theming, with life-size statues of horror characters like Jason Voorhees, Chucky and Michael Myers. The cocktails are all themed around horror movies too, and after trying a few, we decided to call it a night to avoid being too hungover the next day. We decided to start the next day by heading to the top of the Charles Bridge Tower on the Old Town side of the bridge. I have to say this tower was a lot more enjoyable to climb than Petrin Tower, and thankfully it was a clear day so the views were better too. You can even see the structure inside the tower right before reaching the top, which made for some pretty cool shots of the wooden beams inside. The views from the top of the tower were the best I'd seen for shooting Prague Castle due to the many natural frames it has, and it also offers the best overhead view of Charles Bridge. If you do visit the tower on the Old Town side, make sure you also head all the way downstairs, as there was a really fun exhibition down there that tells you a little bit about the history of the bridge. Sadly, our trip to Prague was nearing its end, but we had one last stop, the Great Strahov Stadium. This huge stadium in the Strahov district looks abandoned, but is actually still used as a training facility for the Sparta Prague football team. Originally built for synchronized gymnastics, the field is 3 times the size of a regular football pitch, with a capacity of 250,000, making it the largest sports stadium ever. From the outside, the stadium's vast structure gave off an eerie, abandoned vibe. The stadium doesn't really advertise itself as a place you can visit, and the entrance was so hidden we weren't even sure we could enter. Inside, the contrast was striking. Modern training facilities were surrounded by old rundown stands, with the weathered seating areas showing the stadium's decline. Walking through the empty stands, it was fascinating to see how parts of the stadium had been updated, while others stayed frozen in time, creating a huge contrast between old and new. With little time left before our flight, we made one last trip across the Charles Bridge during the best sunset we'd had on the trip. At this point I'd taken plenty of shots of the bridge and I wanted to try something different, so I started experimenting with slow shutter speeds, which resulted in some of my favourite shots I'd taken. Clicked at this point that I hadn't actually taken any shots of the astronomical clock tower in Old Town Square, so after a quick stop there, it was time to start the journey home. Thank you so much for joining me on my journey through the streets of Prague. The city's vast history and stunning architecture make it perfect for street photography. The only real disappointment was visiting in January without getting the classic snow-covered rooftops I'd hoped for, but that just gives me a great reason to return and hopefully capture a snow-covered Prague next time. Again, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this video, get subscribed, give it a like, and I'll see you in the next one.